All right, 3, 2, 1. All right, hello, hello. All right, so we're going to go through the first key, the key of G in that circle of fifths, and just kind of as a refresher. And we're also going to go through a couple of rhythms and some of the things that I told you to work on, just to use this as a refresher. I only have about 15 minutes at a time to do these videos, so we're going to kind of move fast, so feel free to rewind and go through them again as we go. All right, so we've got, first things first, remember over here with your fingers, this is your first finger, second finger, third finger, fourth finger. Here's your thumb, we'll call it your fifth. And then when I say like second finger, third fret, I'm gonna say, so here's 1, 2, 3 frets. I want you to come in right underneath the fret. So if I say second finger, third fret, I'm saying and E string or sixth string, I want you to put it here, just underneath the third fret, right there. Not on the fret itself. You're gonna get a weird sound, but just underneath. Okay, so occasionally I'm gonna be calling those things out to you. Okay, so first things first, you got your G set up. You have your second finger, third fret, sixth string, and then your third and fourth finger on your 2 and 1 string, just like that. And remember, you're going to have your second finger resting against the fifth string, which is the A string. You're going to rest it because we want to get that muted sound. Okay, not open sound, because we don't want that A to bleed through unintentionally on the G chord. Give it a good strum, just like that. By the way, when you're holding your pick, okay, I'm using this really cool Jimmy Dunlop. They have the little grip here because I constantly drop my picks. You can hold them, I'm trying to get it so you can see it. You can hold it kind of like a cross. So you see how I'm kind of crossing my fingers right here, my thumb and my first finger. So it looks kind of like this. Stick a pick right in there, just like that. You don't want to grip it too tightly because you're going to get a really choppy sound with your string. So what you want to do is just grip it, just enough to where you can get a good smooth strum out of it. When you're testing out the strings, don't worry, you're not going to pop them unless they're really old strings. So when you're strumming, doing a nice little down strum, give it a few tests. And you're gonna need to start exploring and experimenting with what your ears are comfortable with how you're strumming, how you're using your pick, and how you're feeling confident and comfortable in it. So when I'm doing slower songs, I'm going to strum a little bit easier. And I need to know my pressure. I need to know how far I can go without it sounding really choppy, which is the gross sound. Okay. So where it starts getting like your ears can't take it, you're going to want to take it a notch down below that. So just play around with it, have some fun with it. All right, so now we've got our G, right? We go transition to our A minor. Now we are going to get into the bar chords now. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your first finger, and then you're going to lay the rest of them down. That's kind of how I like to, when I was learning how I would position first, I would lay the bar first, and then I would allow my other fingers to follow. So there's the B minor. That's the next in the scale. So when you're pressing down on your strings, you'll notice on my back here, the back of my neck, I'm pinching with my finger instead of having all the force be like here. I'm pinching it so my hand isn't getting worn out as far as trying to hold the strings down, get the pressure down. So and then you'll look right here, see the indentions. It's not on the very face, and it's also not on the very side. It's somewhere in the middle on that kind of corner of your finger right there. You'll have to bend your wrist and kind of just be a little flexible with how you're using your arm and your wrist. Not like this. I don't want to see any of that. You're going to feel tempted to do that because you feel like all of your strength needs to come from your fingers when really it's coming from your whole hand. So those stress balls is going to develop your hand strength when you're, when you squeeze those stress balls. Also, just playing is going to develop your hand strength. All right, so there's your B minor. We're going to go into a bar chord. We'll get into that later, but we're going to go through just a nice little lesson with bar chords and a practice thing that you can do with it to develop your hand strength. See, told you. I drop my pick all the time. That's why I have more. All right, so we've got the G, we've got the A minor, right? We got the B minor, we got C. You notice that I'm using my thumb to mute the strings that I don't want to use. So on the chord scale sheet that I gave you, you'll see the X's and the O's. The X's mean you're muting them, and the O's mean that you are keeping the strings open and letting them play, so letting them ring. So with the C, you want to, unless we are intentionally doing one of those fraction chords where it's a C over E, that means a C with an E in the bass, emphasized E in the bass. We're not going to play that unless it's called for. So we don't want to play the E. So I'm using my thumb to mute the C. Otherwise, that's the sound you would get. So we're muting it to get the real C sound, all of it. And now from C we go to D. I'm still using my thumb to mute. And then we get the E minor. I remove my thumb so I can get that E in the bass. Right? And then we go to the D over F sharp. And then we resolve back at G. All right, now I showed you a very simple rhythm last time. For at this point when you're still learning, I want you to basically just imitate what I'm doing. Follow what I'm doing exactly, and from there you'll begin to experiment and explore the rhythms that are already inside you that we're going to pull out. So the rhythm that I showed you last time is really simple. I'm going to do it again. Down, up, 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 down. Now, by the way, when I count you in, when you come in on the one, that's called downbeat. So I'm going to go 1, 2, ready, and down. Okay, so that's your downbeat on the 1. And your downbeat should just, for right now, for what we're doing, always keep it on a down strum on the downbeat. It's going to help you with your chord transitions. It's going to help you with your rhythm and tempo and everything, so you don't get messed up. You do it like that for now until you kind of develop more skill, and then you'll be able to come in and out of that, depending on the sound that you want to get, because you get a different sound between down strum and up strum. Okay. So, where was I? Okay, so now we're going to do with that rhythm the down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. You're going to see my hand kind of like still moving, even though I'm not emphasizing one note over the other. I'm not emphasizing one part over the other. You're not going to hear it. I'm still going to move my hand because that's my natural way of keeping my rhythm, keeping my tempo. You're going to figure out how to do that too. It's basically, I'm playing 16th notes, but I'm only emphasizing one note over another. Those are the accents, the ba, 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 ba. So, you'll hear it, and you'll also hear little notes in between, little strums in between that I'm not doing as loudly as the other ones. I'm doing those louder, so you can hear the accents. So I'm just going to do the G, and then we'll go into the scale. Did you hear it? Ba, 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 ba. All right, now we're going to do the scale. We're going to do 2 measures. Excuse me, we're going to do 2 measures per chord. We're going to 2 times through, and then we're going to end on the G. We're going to do what's called just a drop off. You just strum the chord, and you just let it ring out. Ready? 1, 2, ready, go. Over F sharp, and G. Again, ready, G, G, 2, 3, A minor, D minor, C, D, F sharp. Remember, we're going to suspend the last chord. Ready? And G. That's it. All right, so you'll notice in some of my strumming, in my transition of my hand, that I take my hands off really quick and put them back on. So one of the exercises that I gave you was to come off, on, and on. So it's G, G, on, off, on, off. And then you switch over, right? And I already know, like for the next chord that I'm doing, I already know what it's going to look like on my hand. So I know that the A minor is going to look like this, E minor is going to look like this, C is going to look like this, D looks like this. So I move my fingers to around about what the chord looks like and feels like before I even reach the strings. So by the time I reach the strings, it becomes a lot easier. Sorry. There we go. All right. Yeah, it becomes a lot easier so I can hit it. And I have a few in between strums that I do while I'm transitioning. You can't really, unless you're really listening, you can't really hear it. It's where I'm really not playing any chord at all. So check this out. Watch my hand in my transition. I'm going to go to A minor. I'm going to go to E minor now. So you can see that I just very quickly and did a in between. That way it gives me a little bit of space to do my transition well. I can readjust once I'm on the next chord in between those strums. That takes a while to learn. So be patient with yourself and what you're doing, and just keep going. All right. So go over that a few times, rewind that and go over that a few times. The last thing is the bar chord exercise. So you're going to do B minor. I got to do this really quickly. I'm running out of time. So I'm going to do the B minor. You're going to do the same rhythm. And then you're going to go up to the next fret. Slide up. And then you're going to go back down. There are actually 3 configurations for bar chords that we're going to do. That's the first one that we're going to take care of, because it's not the hardest. It's probably, like, if I were to give it a number as far as 1, 2, 3 of what's hard, it's probably the second one, the second hardest one. There's one that's easier. This is the second one, and then there's one that's really hard. So we're going to save that one for our last. So anyway, that's it for now. Go through this a couple times, and then I'll do another video to go over the song that we were working on, Extravagant. And I can't sing it on it, and I'm just going to go through the chord progressions, and I'll play it out at different rhythms and different dynamics. Alrighty, see you soon.